we've seen it come and go throughout the course of, the whole time we've been on the air, since we've been looking at this storm. We've seen it coming and going. So again, that's why you have to keep an eye on it, because it could come right back in a heartbeat. And so that's why you have to keep your eyes on these things, even though they look like they're taken off, they can come right back, especially when you're dealing with the very hostile environment that we have across the region right now. So that really is the strongest storm on board. That storm over Pitt, moving towards the east toward Cherry Grove, Sheffield, Clarendon, flipping south of downtown Warren. The thunderstorms that are over the southern tier right now they don't look as intense as they did, and I think a lot of what's happening here is the fact that I think there's been more cloud cover, especially out to the east today. So I think mainly that could be helping to keep some of these from maybe forming into the severe storms that they could be, but still, the lightning output is still pretty impressive. So again, these are really going to be a heavy rain producer and damaging wind producer as of right now. So again, there's no rotation in any of these. That's going to be the main threat. These storms coming over Little Valley, coming up onto Franklinville. So if you're in Franklinville, you're pretty much going to be getting a downpour here within the next couple of minutes with lots of frequent lightning. Houghton as well, just north of there, going up into Wyoming County, you could get some pretty nasty downpours as well. And all of this is going to be moving to the east-northeast. And so that's pretty much our main threat there. Nothing pretty much across actually, let's do a wide view. Let's go back to just the whole view and do a reset here, because we haven't done that. And this will give you an idea of what we're looking at. So basically, all the polygons you see here are basically severe thunderstorm warnings. So all the orange polygons are severe thunderstorm warnings. This is a special weather statement that was issued for the Buffalo Metro, and I'm not entirely sure what that was issued for. I really haven't read that, because again, that's not really our coverage area. So I really haven't, or that could be just a special weather statement talking about the potential for severe storms. That's likely what that's for. So that's just a special weather statement. But in our area, we've got the severe thunderstorm warning across that eastern. Basically, if you're in Chautauqua County, you're not in this warning anymore. It's basically a Cattaraugus County and then Allegheny County issue as these storms continue to move to the east-northeast. We also have this. This is the strongest storm on the board. This storm that is in Warren County, passing over Tiddie, moving towards the east, south of Warren. That's been the hot storm of the day so far, and it has shown signs of rotation at numerous times. Yes, Andrew?
I was just going to add, you were about that special weather statement from the National Weather Service. It just says that a lake breeze is protecting the Buffalo area from the storm, so they're not really expecting any severe weather up that way from the lake breeze that's protecting the Buffalo metro area.
Okay, and again, that was a potential as well with the lake breeze, the wind coming off the lake. Often cases when you're dealing with lake breezes, they often can protect the Lake Erie shoreline from storms, and that's why Buffalo often is the saving grace sometimes, because Buffalo can sometimes get missed by thunderstorms when we have a lake breeze, and even down towards the Lake Erie shoreline as well. Sometimes you guys can get protected by some of the winds coming off the lake. So again, Buffalo's not really our coverage area, so that's why we don't really focus too much on that. But the main storm that we are focusing on is this storm over Tiddie right now that is moving towards the east, and this is going to be coming just south of Warren near Clarendon and Sheffield. So if you're down in that region, you're going to be getting a very heavy downpour as well. I want to look at the velocity, and I will say there's still signs that there's rotation going on in here. It's going to be right here. You can see where the two colors are coming together. It does look like it's a little more organized now on this latest radar scan than it was. Again, this is the same thing we talked about, how the velocity signatures keep pulsing. They're going up and down, up and down. And so it looks like this particular velocity signature could very well have tightened back up again just by a little bit. It's still broad. It's not excessively tight, but there is signs of rotation right over Titty Ute. And again, this storm is going to be moving like this to the east, going out towards Sheffield. So basically, if you're in downtown Warren, the storm is going to pass you in downtown Warren. If you're in South Warren South towards Clarendon and Sheffield, that's where this storm is. And quite frankly, I don't think it's a bad idea to go to your safe place because, again, we've seen this velocity signature come and go, and I don't think it's a bad idea, especially when you're dealing with storms like this in this kind of hostile environment. I don't think it's a bad idea to just go to your safe place. Yes?
I'll just add, I was reading the National Weather Service has allowed the northern part of Warren County severe thunderstorm warning to expire at 4 o'clock. So that one is no longer in effect. We're just focusing on the one in southern Warren County now.
Yes. So I saw that come up in the chat. So again, that northern section of Warren County, not under the severe thunderstorm warning anymore, from Sugar Grove towards Bear Lake back to the west. It's mainly this storm that, again, we've been talking about for what? Half an hour? We've been talking about this storm for quite a while, and the reason we've been focusing on this is because this is the strongest storm. And, sometimes people ask us, well, why aren't you talking about my town? If we're not talking about your town, there's nothing going on there. That's why. I mean, we're here to talk about the weather that is ongoing. So if we're not talking about your particular town or village, you're fine. There's nothing going on there of at least severe importance. That's why we're focusing on the storms that are ongoing right now, especially this right down here over Titty Ute. I mean, this is a nasty looking thunderstorm. And let's take a look at the hail threat product again to see if we still have hail going on in this storm. And we've been having some computer issues back in the weather office today. So if the product doesn't load, that's okay. But there was a pretty distinct hail core at one point during this. And so there definitely could be some large hail going on with that storm as well as it continues to move towards the east. But the main thing that we're keeping an eye on with that storm is going to be that velocity signature. And you can see it's right here over Titty Ute. That is the main concern. And this is going to be probably going, I would say, probably south of Sheffield. It looks like that's going to be the better track for this, is going to be pretty much between Sheffield and the county line. So if you're from anywhere between Titty Ute, Sheffield, and the county line, I don't think it's a bad idea to go to a safe place. Again, that's a small room on the lowest floor near the center, away from windows. Even though there's no tornado warning here, it's not a bad idea to do that anyway. Because, even if anything else, there could be some very strong damaging winds occurring within this as well. And when you're dealing with wind gusts of 70, 80 miles an hour, that's like a small tornado. And it doesn't matter if the damage is occurred by a tornado or straight line winds. You just need to know it's coming, and you need to stay safe no matter what. So that is why I don't think it's a bad idea to go to a safe place if you're from Titty Ute in Warren County towards Sheffield. I think that's a good call to go ahead and do that. And also in your safe place, make sure you have helmets as well. That's the one thing that those of us in the weather enterprise, we have neglected to tell people during weather coverage, is to make sure you have a helmet on. There have been numerous peer-reviewed studies that have shown that people who have been injured in tornadoes, the injuries occur to the face and the skull region. So by putting on a bicycle helmet, a batting helmet if your child if your child plays baseball or softball, any of those things will help protect your life. So, I know sometimes it looks silly to have a helmet on, but I'm telling you, those things will save your life. So that's why helmets are a big thing. You got to have them in your safe place. Put them on, go to your safe place, and just wait out this storm, because if nothing else, there's definitely going to be some strong damaging winds occurring within this storm as well, along with frequent lightning. As well as this storm continues to move towards the east. And the storm motion is, I believe, 50 miles an hour, I believe is the storm motion on this. And it is, 45 miles an hour. So basically, this is so again, we're still holding on to that considerable wind damage threat. And so again, these tiered severe thunderstorm warnings, everybody has an opinion on them, but I think it's a good thing to have these tiered warnings because it helps, it helps to understand the impacts of severe thunderstorm warnings. Not every severe thunderstorm warning is the same. And when you're dealing with winds of 70, 80 miles an hour, you're dealing with some very strong winds there that could cause some pretty big damage. So that is why it's important to listen to those severe thunderstorm warnings and not really blow those off, especially on a day like today when we're dealing with something like this. So this is the warning for Cattaraugus and Allegheny counties. I know that little sliver of Chautauqua County is still in that polygon. Forget about that. Basically, Chautauqua County is out of the severe weather for now. Okay, for now. We're not over with. Just for now, from this particular thunderstorm, it has moved out to the east. Now this is mainly going to be a central Cattaraugus and Allegheny County issue, and it looks like the majority of that is moving out towards Allegheny County. But still, the main storm of concern is that storm passing to the south or just east of Titty-Ute, and you can still see that purple core showing up right in there. That purple color on the reflectivity could be indicative of some large hail and also with some heavy rainfall as well. But generally when you see that, that does indicate some, could be some large hail could be falling. And again, we have the potential for hail that could be upwards of 2 inches in diameter. And understand that's very significant hail when you're dealing with 2 inch in diameter. I mean, Westfield dealt with that a couple of years ago. We had a major hailstorm that occurred near Westfield back in 2018. And that was a nasty, or in 2019, that was a nasty, nasty thunderstorm complex. And there was some really large hail up in that storm up there. So again, this is the storm we're watching east of Titty-Ute, moving to the south of Clarendon, moving up towards Sheffield. And again, there's still that evidence of that rotational signature. It's still broad, but it's still there. And as long as it's there, you have to respect that and understand that when you're dealing with rotation, you could be dealing with at least a you could be dealing with a pop-up tornado as well, if the conditions are correct, if the storm, if it continues to strengthen up. But for now, you can still see where the inbound and outbound wind velocities are right here, just to the east of Titty-Ute right now. And, like the same thing we've mentioned, if anything else, if no tornado comes out of this, it'll be mainly a pretty damaging wind threat. And again, we're talking wind gusts that could be upwards of 70 miles an hour. And still, when you get to winds like that, that's almost like a small tornado. So again, same thing I talked about. It doesn't matter if the winds come from a tornado or a straight line wind. You just need to know it's coming, and you got to do something about it. So the severe thunderstorm warning for Warren County will continue until 4:30, and they are going to continue that, and that is and again, there's a new warning for Genesee, Monroe, and Orleans, but again, that's north of our area. So again, the main storm of concern, again, is this storm going over Titty-Ute to the east. So the thunderstorms across the southern tier are still somewhat severe. We've noticed still a good bit of lightning still with those storms as well. So those storms could be dealing with some lightning as well, along with some heavy rainfall. Mainly strong gusty winds would be the main factor here. And again, you can see that new warning that was posted mainly for these storms right over here going to the south of Rochester. Those storms are pretty much the hot ones in this particular one right now. But our main storm of concern, yes, sir.
I was just going to add, not really our coverage area, but up in Rochester area, National Weather Service has a mesoscale discussion for the better tornado chances are up that way going towards central New York. So I just saw that they put out that discussion for better tornado chances up towards that area.
Okay, and again, that is more that, in terms of the western New York area, that is probably going to be where off to the east today. That is probably going to be the better chance across western and central New York, up across the Lake Ontario shoreline, and then going out towards pardon me, going out towards central New York, that will likely be the better chance for some of those tornadoes, for at least the better chance for a tornado or two through the afternoon hours. And but again, all of the southern tier is under a tornado watch until 11 o'clock. So, forget all that. I mean, we still could have a tornado between now and 11 o'clock. That's still possible. So, but the better dynamics do seem to be further out to the east for at least some tornadoes across western New York. But this storm, in the words of my friend James Spann, is hanging in there like a rusty fish hook. This storm here in Warren County has still been hanging in there, and you can still see that purple core in the reflectivity values. That is where we're starting to see again the potential for that large hail, and there still is a velocity signature there, and again there's the hail threat product, and again where you're seeing the blue colors, that could be upwards of 2-inch hail. Now, the same thing we talked about. These are radar algorithms that take a lot of the radar data, put it through a lot of mathematical equations to try to figure out how much to try to figure out the hail size. Could you see 2-inch hail? It's possible, but I think you might see a little bit something less. I want to, can we put the velocity data back on here? Because I'm looking at it on my radar I see over here, and there's still some signs of rotation. Is this standard velocity, or is this storm relative, Andrew?
It's thinking now.
Okay, because I think this is standard velocity. This is the radial velocity. And I was just curious to see if it would show up a little bit better on the storm relative velocity. But either way, the area of rotation, there it is. The area of rotation is going to be right about in here. You can see where the red and greens are coming together. That's the better area for the rotation. And so more than likely, this is going to be the area of rotation coming up towards Sheffield. And again, I've been looking at it on the radar I have over here. And still the rotation is broad. Understand, it's still broad, but it's still there. So as long as the rotation is still there, it's the same thing we talked about, how, if you're in Sheffield, it would not be a bad idea to just go ahead and go to your safe place. Definitely not a bad idea. Pardon me. Weather Service is going to continue the warning until 4:30, and definitely, obviously, we should keep the warning in place, obviously, as we're still dealing with this storm right now. So again, the main threats with this storm would likely be strong damaging winds, and there could be a potential for that tornado with this storm, as there's still signs of rotation. So again, the storm is still showing signs of broad rotation right now. It is not very strong rotation, but there's still rotation going on within that storm as well, along with a hail threat as well. The hail today, the temperatures aloft today are pretty cold, and so that definitely could allow for some very large hail to fall, and that's been a threat all day today as well. But I really believe that the Weather Service has the right call by not posting a tornado warning. It's always a debate in the weather enterprise. Do we issue tornado warnings? Do we not issue tornado warnings? And I think in this particular instance, I don't think a tornado warning is warranted here, simply because this is still a broad area of rotation, and the fact that we haven't heard of any reports of any tornado touchdowns. Now, the one thing we have to remember, though, is this is a pretty rural area. We are a very rural area between all of Western New York and the northwestern part of PA. Once you get away from the major metropolitan areas, it gets pretty rural, and especially in Warren County, it's pretty rural in Warren County. So reports can be delayed, but because we haven't seen any damage coming out of this storm as it moved on through, and the fact that the velocity signature is still rather broad that is the reason why I don't think a tornado warning should be issued. Again, we don't want to be throwing tornado warnings out, just, to hit the button and all that stuff. We don't want to be doing that. I mean, that brings your false alarm ratio through the roof, and that's not good. So, so I do think the severe thunderstorm warning is appropriate in this case, simply just because we haven't had of any reports yet, and the fact that that rotational signature is still pretty broad as of right now. And in fact, I'm looking at it on the newest radar scan, and the radial velocity signature, it's getting a little muddled. And this is a problem that we have with Doppler radar. You can see how, at least on my radar imagery here, it's looking a little more muddled, but there's still signs of that rotation. If we can zoom in a little bit more, Andrew, there's still signs of that rotation going on. Maybe put the standard velocity imagery back on and see what that looks like. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not there. I mean, let me rephrase that. It's there. It's still there, but it's not as intense as it was. And again, we've seen this, how it seems like it wants to tighten up, but it doesn't fully get there. There's something preventing this from ultimately reaching its full potential, which is good. I mean, we don't want a tornado. I mean, that's good, but it just can't get enough oomph behind it to fully get that, to fully get that rotation to become strong. So as of right now, the rotational signature has pretty much weakened off. It's still there, but again, you have to watch this over multiple radar scans and see what this does. But as of now, that rotational signature is not as well defined as it was. So there's likely a chance that that rotational signature could be cycling again, how it's likely starting to weaken off again, and it could come right back. So, that's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on over the next couple of radar scans, and we're going to be on the air until at least 4:30, because that is when this severe thunderstorm warning expires, is at 4:30. And obviously, if the warning is extended, or if we do get a tornado warning, we'll obviously continue, but as of right now, we will be on the air until at least 4:30 as these storms continue moving on to the east. And these storms, again, newest radar scan, again, the velocity signature is more noisy than it was just a few minutes ago. Just for funsies, Andrew, can we put on the debris tracker? This will give us an idea if there's nothing here. I just wanted to see if there was anything here, and no, there's nothing here. This is a product called Correlation Coefficient, and this is part of the new dual polarization products that we got on the radar probably about 12, 13 years ago. Dual pole is an amazing thing, because this product, basically what it does is it looks at all of the returned echoes, and if it sees something that doesn't correlate with all the others, it puts a negative value on it. And those could be things like tree limbs, parts of buildings, bricks, glass, nails, things that are aloft, something that has been taken, something from below taken aloft. And whenever you see that in correlation with when you see that in correlation with a velocity signature, that generally means you have debris being lofted, you have a tornado at that point. But no debris signatures showing up in that, so that's good news. But again, you can't use this for warning, you use it for confirmation that something is there. So just wanted to see what that looked like, just in case there was anything there. This is the standard reflectivity pattern, and again, you can still see that we're still dealing with at least a ominous looking storm, but as of right now, the velocity, the main impact from that velocity signature likely has starting to weaken off, but man, it's going to be raining pretty heavily across Sheffield right now. So man, if you're in Sheffield, man, you're going to be getting a heavy downpour. I mean, it's just coming on down. And also south of Clarendon as well. Downtown Warren has actually been taken out of that severe thunderstorm warning, and that's definitely a good call, because that storm is passing south of downtown Warren, so no threat from that storm to Warren itself. But that's a pretty heavy downpour right there. Let's put the hail tracker back on here and see if we still have a hail core showing up within here. And again, if the product will load in, we'll see if there's any hail in there. Okay, so this is Mitch Billinger coming up in Warren, and again, he's going to be intercepting this storm as it is moving south of Warren, and so again, that's what he's looking at, is this storm right here coming south of downtown Warren. Okay, he's in downtown Warren right now, or this is... Yeah, this is North Warren, excuse me. This is North Warren. I've been in Warren so many times, you know, I mean, you know, the residents will get mad at you if you pass by the old mall and say it's Warren. It's not Warren. It's technically Conwego. But downtown Warren is just a mile or two down the road, so be technical. This is Mitch Billinger coming up to intercept that storm, and again, you know, that velocity signature is still there, but it definitely is not as intense as it was. The thunderstorm, the velocity signature, and again, you know, we've seen it coming and going over the past 35, 40 minutes, and it's definitely not as intense as it once was. It's getting more muddled now, so there definitely is a chance that this could very well have possibly, again, there's a chance it could be recycling again, where it weakens off and then it possibly comes back. So that's why you have to watch these things over numerous radar scans, because sometimes you don't want to be the fool who cancels the warning too early and then have to reissue it again. You know, that's just, you know, you don't want to be that person. So the good thing to do is just to keep the warning in place and see what it does over the next radar scans. The warning is set to expire in 10 minutes. It's now 4:20. So in about 10 minutes, the warning will expire. More than likely, the Weather Service and State College will more than likely extend this eastward to include portions of Elk and McKean and Potter County. McKean and Potter County and Elk County, not really in our coverage area. We'll let that handle to the Buffalo TV stations, which actually the Buffalo DMA market serves McKean and Potter County, Pennsylvania. So, but once it crosses over, we'll let them handle that, as that's not really in our coverage area. But that storm is pretty much right on top of. That storm is pretty much on top of Sheffield, and it's mainly going to be heavy rain and definitely some strong winds. Again, you know, even though that velocity signature has started to weaken off a little bit, and again, does not look as intense as it did, you know, there still could be some very strong winds in here. And again, the Weather Service is estimating could be upwards of 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So same thing we talked about. Straight line winds of 70 miles an hour could knock down a lot of trees and power lines. So that's why you have to take severe thunderstorm warnings seriously. I know a lot of people blow them off, but it's not a good thing to do, especially on a day like today. Just don't do that. So again, you know, that's the only storm that we're really watching. The cluster of storms across the southern tier, most of these, I would say, has pretty much exited the area. The main area of concern is this northern part of that cluster right here that's going up towards Rochester. So this is that area of storms. This is out of our coverage area. So pretty much this is going to be the main line moving towards the east. But our main focus continues to be that storm over Warren County, and both the severe thunderstorm warnings for the southern tier and for Warren County will expire at 4:30. I believe yes, for 4:30. The warning for southern tier for Chautauqua, Cattaraugus, and Warren, for Chautauqua, Cattaraugus, and Allegheny will expire at 4:30, along with this warning here for Warren County. And so again, you know, that's that storm that we're watching at right there. And so again, notice how even the reflectivity, yeah, it's still a nasty storm, but it also kind of looked like it lost that inflow notch. So that could be a good sign. And even the velocity, again, it's hard to pick out where there would be a velocity signature. If there is one, it's probably going to be right about in here. That seems to be the better chance for at least where the velocity signature was. Probably right about here, just south of Sheffield, just south of downtown Sheffield. Downtown Sheffield is here, so any rotation would probably be right about here, just south of downtown Sheffield. But even with that, I mean, it's looking a lot more murky than it did, which is a good thing. The storm But again, the same thing we talked about, it could be cycling where it could come right back. But more than likely, if it does come back and if it does tighten up, this storm is going to be out of Warren County pretty soon, and then it will cross over into McKean, Potter, and Elk. And more than likely, that would be the main area of concern. Now, I did notice that we have a severe thunderstorm warning for, where is it? Let me go back to my Cleveland chat here, for Crawford County. And I think it's for, yeah, so this is something that was hinted in the chat. We're starting to see backbuilding across Northeast Ohio, and that's not good. Backbuilding means we're starting to see a reinitiation of storms back behind these. And so these are storms that have kind of flared up in Northeast Ohio and are going to be moving again into Crawford County. So again, we're going to have to watch those storms again, because if those storms again tap into some of the unstable air, we'll have to watch these. But there could be a chance that these storms again, with these storms that moved on through, could the rain help to stabilize the air? Yeah, possibly. But again, you know, we'll just have to watch these. So again, these are storms that bubbled up in Northeast Ohio, is what we call back building. And so that was mentioned in the Cleveland chat. I see a dark reflectivity core in that, Andrew, and it looked like it just went away.
Oh, because I had Cleveland on for a minute.
Oh, okay. All right. That's why. Yeah, Andrew was looking at the Cleveland radar, which is a little bit further away. The Cleveland radar is actually located south of Cleveland. And so that radar, again, the radar beam at this location is several thousand feet up from both Buffalo and Cleveland. But the Buffalo radar is the closest and gives us the better low-level look into that storm. So thank you for clarifying that, because I saw that little black hole there and I'm like, well, that's not good. Whenever you see black on the reflectivity scale, that's not a good sign. And but again, there still could be some large hail, again, occurring with this storm. I think the main threat with this storm now, as it continues across that southern section of Warren County going into Elk and McKean and Potter, is mainly going to be strong winds and some heavy and some large hail as well. Again, the radar is estimated again over 2-inch hail. It looks like the main hail core is south of Warren down into Elk County. Looks like the better hail core is just south of Warren. So again, you know, you still could be dealing with hail within this, but the main threat definitely could be some strong damaging winds along with this. That velocity signature is definitely not as defined, and they have extended that severe thunderstorm warning, which we knew they were going to. They've taken the tornado damage tag out, which makes sense because, Andrew, I mean, that velocity signature just died. I mean, I don't see anything on the velocity that is indicating that that storm has any rotation. I mean, that thing just kind of like died out, which is good. I mean, I'm not going to complain about that. I mean, you know, if all rotations died out, that'd be great. I mean, you know, but again, there's really nothing here that kind of indicates of any rotation. It has really just kind of weakened itself off. And so this new severe thunderstorm warning you see here, this part of the polygon down here, that's now a severe thunderstorm warning for Elk, McKean, for Cameron and Elk, not McKean. They haven't extended it into McKean, but for Elk County mainly. So again, that's pretty much out of our coverage area. Elk County belongs to the TV market in St. Mary's, so we'll let them handle this. But pretty much for that storm out of Warren County, it's pretty much moving out of Warren County now, moving to the east and southeast. So that's pretty much going to be the motion on those. Let's go back up to this here, because all of these warnings are set to expire in 2 minutes. It is 4:28, so in 2 minutes these warnings are set to expire. So again, even though for all intents and purposes, if you are in Chautauqua or Cattaraugus counties, the severe thunderstorm warning is over with for now. So that's pretty much that. The main issue of concern is going to be this mess out here going out towards the Rochester metro area. Storm over Warren County, moving towards the east out towards Elk and Cameron counties. Noticing development across the Niagara Peninsula again, and if we can go over to the Niagara Peninsula, I want to take a look at those, because we're starting to notice development across the Niagara Peninsula again, just behind the banner, and these could drop into western New York, so we're going to have to keep an eye on these, along with with those storms that moved in from northeast Ohio. So we're seeing back building again. And so again, these storms can pop up again if they have enough moisture in the atmosphere and they have enough juice to let them flow. We're going to have to watch these to see if they drop into the region and if they can tap into any moisture that's left in the atmosphere. Again, there could be a chance that these storms could have weakened the atmosphere a little bit. So if these drop in, they could fall apart, or they could tap into more energy again and turn strong to severe. So there's never a guarantee when it comes to weather. There's no guarantees in weather. So that's something we're going to have to keep an eye on over the next hour or two as more back building continues back to the west. But pretty much in about 60 seconds, these warnings are going to go off the board. So we will not have any warnings in our coverage area, which will be a good thing. And when these warnings go off the board, we will go off the air. But if we need to, we will go back on the air again, and we'll be here all afternoon keeping our eyes on this. So again, the warnings are off the board. It is 4:30. The warnings are off the board. The storm in Warren County is moving out towards the east, again, mainly with strong winds. This is a time lapse over the past couple of hours. So again, those storms are moving out to the east. But again, we're starting to see, again, back building across the Niagara Peninsula and northeast Ohio. So understand, our severe weather risk is not over. The tornado watch stays in place for all of western New York until 11 o'clock tonight. The severe thunderstorm watch for northwestern Pennsylvania, including Warren and for Erie and Crawford County, stays in place until 9 o'clock, I believe. Andrew, am I correct? Is it 9 o'clock for the severe thunderstorm watch?
Yeah, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, so 9 o'clock for the severe thunderstorm watch, 11 o'clock for the tornado watch. Good chance the watches will probably be dropped before then, but understand, between now and 9 and 11 o'clock, we still have the chance for severe thunderstorms. So as of right now, no warnings in our coverage area, so we are going to go off the air for right now, but if coverage warrants, we will come right back on the air with more live severe weather coverage. So for Andrew Stevenson, Dakota Hunter, I'm Dakota Hunter. For Andrew Stevenson, Mitch Bellinger, Jackson Hickey, Sean Sweatman, everybody out in the field, I'm Dakota Hunter, live in the First Defense Weather Center.
This is a First Defense Weather Alert.